For those of you who don't know Stephanie Gertsch, she's the assignment editor at the Tri-City Voice. Of course, we all love the Tri-City Voice. They've given all of our organizations such great press over the years and so much assistance with getting people to our events and learning about what we're doing. So she started there as a reporter, and now she's moved up to the assignment editor, and she'll tell us more about what that means. We're pretty excited about getting sort of the inside scoop, because we all have to get that coverage, and we want to make your job easier, and we want to make our jobs easier. So take it away, Stephanie.
All right, that's me. Hi, thank you for inviting me, and I will give you some tips for how to submit to Tri-City Voice. So let me share my slides, and this should go smoothly. Okay, so my title is just how to get your stuff into TCV without really trying. And here is my first slide. And let me see if I can make it just a little bit bigger for you guys. Okay.
Oh, the W's.
Yes. So first, let me talk about best practices for people who want to submit a thing that they already have. And then I'll go on to how to prepare for interviews and how to pitch to us. I recently ran into Tish Davidson, who submits a lot of stuff for Fremont area writers, and she was actually kind of apologetic. She's like, oh, it's so hard to think of something creative every month. I just keep submitting for the same events. It's always the same information, and I just can't think of anything new. And I was like, you are great. I love getting your stuff because it's always so clear. It always has all the information we need. You know, it does not have to be Shakespeare. You're writing for the average reader, like let's say Gary, and you're writing about your monthly meeting or your Zoom social write-in. We want Gary to be able to look at these couple of paragraphs and be like, oh, Zoom social write-in, what is that? Or I went to one of those in the past. I wonder when this one's happening. Is it still online, or do I need to show up somewhere? Well, what time is it? What day is it? And we want Gary to be able to get that information as quick as possible. And as long as it's all in there, you do not have to be the most polished and most creative writer. So basically, when you're submitting, the first things you need to look at are the 5 W's and the H. What is it? When is it? Where is it? Why are you doing it? How are you doing it? Make sure you answer all those questions, because if you don't, we'll have to email you back and ask you and put it in that way. A tip for how to make sure you've got your 5 W's and your H is to read the articles in our current issue of Tri-City Voice. And we do always have a PDF version up on the website if you can't pick up a paper. And then you'll just see how we tend to write things. And especially you want to look at the bold text at the end of articles, because that's where we have all the event information, all the contact information. And we have to put it in every article where that's relevant in exactly that way. So if you don't have it, we will ask you and you'll have to submit it to us. A tip too for when people are submitting, let me go to my next slide. Okay, so you should be able to see the red box and the green check mark. So I'm an editor, and that means that I work in Microsoft Word documents. So the best way to make it easier for me is to submit us stuff as a Word document attachment rather than a PDF or in the body of an email. However, when we assemble the paper, and it's the wonderful layout team who does this, the layout team will need to use a completely different program as they're putting it all together. And they are the masters of what page it's going to be on, where the photos are going to be, if we even have room for photos, all that kind of stuff. So no formatting that you give me in the Word document is actually going to make it into the final version. It's going to be smushed into a different shape. The photos will have to be added separately, and so on. So sometimes we get people who have the photos in the Word document and they'll have notes in their body of their text to the effect of, look at the photo on the left for an example. Or they'll spend all this time formatting a table and then I just have to be like, oh no, I'm gonna have to take all this stuff out of the table. Sorry, I'm gonna have to destroy this. It's not gonna make it in there. Thank you for trying though. So to make it easier on yourself and us, just plan that all your content, all your information is gonna go in. That's what we need to work with, but all your formatting, if you want to format it for us, I can tell you like what font to use, what spacing to use, all that kind of stuff, but don't try to put any tables or photos in your Word document because they are not going to make it. And let's see, how much time do I have left? Do I have till 6:30?
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's time check at 6:20. We could go to 6. What do you think, Lisa? 6:45 even, 6:40? Yeah, and we wanted to work in some time for Q&A too, but yeah, you could go another 15-20 minutes.
Okay, cool.
Lisa,
Yeah.
wait, Lisa, is that okay with you? Yeah, she's fine. Okay, yes, proceed. I've learned something new already, and I'll tell you what it is later. I'm just, all the years I've been submitting to you, Stephanie, and I just realized I've been doing something I shouldn't. I'll
Well,
share it later.
I mean, it's not like we get on people's case saying like, oh, why did you submit it to us in a sans serif font when we always use Times New Roman?
Right.
I'll
just say right now, what I've done is I've put my content, I've done like lines, like I'll do I do a message to you, Stephanie, and then I'll do a line, and then I do my content in the body of the email, because I learned from someone said this to me long ago, that they get so many submissions that they won't bother opening up an attachment. They want to just read it in the email and just quickly decide if it's something that they wanted to consider. So that's why I don't send you a Word. So that's my mistake.
Yeah, I do see that. For me, if the email tells me who you are and what kind of thing you're sending to me, then that's good. But if you're sending a full article, I'd prefer it be in a Word document, because if it's in the body of the email, the first thing I need to do is just copy select the whole thing and then copy and paste into a Word document.
Okay.
But yeah, it would be kind of frustrating if I didn't know who you were and it was just a mysterious Word document from an unknown source. I would probably delete that.
Okay.
You're not getting me today, random spam bot.
Right. Okay. Well, I just learned something. All right. Thank you.
Okay. So with that, I think that I will move on to my next slide, which is the interviewing slide. And I actually didn't have as many notes for this one because I just show up. I mean, be yourself. But I did have a few pointers. One important thing is, if you would like to be interviewed or have someone with your organization be interviewed by us, do reach out early, because for Tri-City Voice, I'm planning several weeks in advance, about 3 to 3.5 weeks. So I'm already looking towards the end of May and the beginning of June from now. And a lot of papers, I think, don't have that much of a lead time. We're a little bit unusual. So I usually do try to give the reporters as much time as I can if they're going to need to set up an interview, because scheduling conflicts happen and they need to go back and get some more notes and stuff like that. So if there's something that's happening next week and you really want an article in before that, you're probably not going to get a chance to interview unless I have some extra time that week. So your chances of getting an interview and getting a nice detailed article will go up the more in advance you contact us. And then obviously for the interview itself, be ready at the start time to talk to us, have your phone on, go to a quiet room where we can easily hear you and you can easily hear us. Plan for at least 30 minutes. My interviews usually last about 20 to 40 minutes, so it might be done early, but give yourself at least 30 minutes of a cushion, or even a little bit more than that. And I would say finally, just be yourself when you talk to us. Tell us what's going on, what you want to share with us, what you find interesting about whatever the topic is. That's kind of what we're here to ask. I, as an interviewer, particularly like asking about particular moments, like when did you first realize that this was your passion? Like when you first got to the space that you're now using for your organization, what was it like when you first walked in? What was like the first day that you had an art exhibit or whatever at your space like? Who was there? Like what was the vibe like? What were the sounds and smells and sights like when that was going on? I do like those concrete details and things that really put me in the moment and show me how the other person is thinking. And definitely, if there's something that's important to you that you'd really like to see in the article, then by all means tell us. And I usually ask people at the end, is there anything else you would like to see in an article about your topic? Because you are the expert and we're just asking questions. So if there's something important, definitely tell us. And then finally, I will move on to pitching. And I do have guidelines that I give to our reporters for how to pitch to us. And I would say it's pretty much the same for community members. I would say I have some bullet points and maybe they should be sent out later, like as well as like my notes from this or a simpler version, just because it's kind of a lot to go over. But I would say 3 to 5 sentences is about right for a pitch. It's enough to flesh out your idea a bit, but it's not a whole wall of text that I have to read. Do convey what the angle is. What will the story focus on? Is this about a particular person? Is it about an organization? Is it about how they got started? Is it about something that's coming up in the future? What do you kind of want to zero in on? If there's any sources that are available for interviews, then that's good information to know so I can plan for that. Let us know approximately how long a story will be. If it's a feature article, we usually plan for 500 to 800 or up to 900 words. But let us know if it should be shorter than that or if it's something that could be in more than one article. Let us know if you have any photos for the story or if you can get photos, because we always like to have that visual element. If there are any other materials like a flyer or links to a website that you can include in your pitch to say, and if you want the full background on this topic, here you go to this place, then that's also helpful. And let us know if there's an element that's time sensitive, like an event that's coming up that we really need to get the story in ahead of. And overall, I think try to convey like what is cool about this topic, what makes it interesting to you, and then we'll have a better understanding of why it should be interesting to us and to our readers. And that was all my slides, and that was my notes on pitching. And okay, it's a little bit before 6:30, so I think I can show you an example of something that I made as a joke, which is basically a flyer that I would not like to receive as someone at Tri-City Voice. So let me pull it up and then I'll screen share it. Okay, so here is a flyer for a nonprofit that I made up. I'm just calling it the Awesome Nonprofit. And this is not real, and this does not correspond to anyone that I know in real life, but it's something that would be very difficult for me to work with if I received it at Tri-City Voice. So as I scroll up and down, you can see it's in a Word document. It's kind of weirdly formatted into 2 columns. I'm going to have to unformat that. There's a good chunk of text in the heading and a good chunk of text in the footer. And if you're able to like kind of look at what information that they have included, they spend a lot of time talking up like how cool and amazing their organization is. But if I just read this and I didn't know anything about who it was, I would be like, who are these guys? What do they do? What are they actually doing? I see that they have a lot of event sponsors. A lot of local people are helping them out. I guess they're cool, but that's not really information I'm going to put in the article. And like everything about what's actually going to go on at the event is in one like very small paragraph, and it's not really elaborated on. And it's not until you get to this very small paragraph on the second column that you see what the day is that the event that they're planning would be held, and it doesn't have a time, so I would have to go and try to find the time. And it does have ticket information because I guess they want their money, but this is something where I'd have to go over it with a fine-tooth comb to actually find the information and kind of make it into an article. It's just not in an article format right now. And it would be a lot of work for probably not that much content. So if this just kind of showed up in my inbox with a note saying, please do something to help us promote our event, then it would not be that compelling to me. And it would require a lot of work on my end. And I also would bet that if I actually went to their website, they would not actually have updated their information for this year because many places do not. So here's my example of what not to send us. Okay, and that was basically everything I could think of to let people know about submitting to Tri-City Voice.
I have some questions.
Yes, okay.
Okay, first question is, can you go over the timeline in terms of working backwards? Like if it's published on a Tuesday, the layout's done on Sunday, articles have to be proofread by this day, submitted, right? Like how much lead time do we need to make sure we give you plenty of time to do your work?
So working backwards, like, do you mean like when I start looking at things, or like when is the last?
If I said we're having an event on May 22nd, whatever that event is, what day do you need the final stuff to get it in the issue before the event? Like,
okay, so if you're able to get us final stuff, and you don't need one of us to make the final stuff, then I would give you, I would probably say like early afternoon on Thursday, just in case there's an issue and I need to go back and forth by email. So if it's the 22nd, then we'd probably want it in the 16th. And we're making the 16th this week. So I would be like, tonight is Wednesday. Can you get it to me tomorrow afternoon?
and is there an actual like a drop dead like you give stuff to the whoever does the layout on Friday, or when is the point where you can't make any changes at all?
Well, that point is actually Monday, the day that before, or the day that we do go to the printers, because we get it printed on Monday afternoons and we send it out on Tuesdays. But I don't tell people that just because I like the layout team and I don't want them to hate me. Only for things that are happening over the weekend, like theater, do we plan for stuff to get to the layout team on Monday. And even then, we do want to let them know in advance so they can kind of hold a chunk of space because they know a theater review and a few photos are coming.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. I don't want to cut in front of other people. Do other people have questions?
Anybody? Does we want to?
Yeah.
Okay, Sherry, we've got
Yes.
a.
I do have a question. So, what would be like a differentiating factor between whether we're submitting something or requesting and like doing like the pitching for it?
So if you're submitting something, that means you have a document that you've already written and you're just sending it our way. And we might edit it, we might cut it down a little bit if it's longer, but there's already a thing that you're just sending over to us. If you're pitching, then you're asking us, hey, like I have this thing that I would like a story on. Could I get a reporter to talk to someone from my group and put together a story? Or could I submit something in the future? So for me, that's a distinction. Like, is there a thing already or is there no thing yet?
Okay.
If we're going to write the thing, do we need to pitch to you first to make sure that it's something you would publish?
Well,
Or do you take everything people send?
depending on how much effort you're putting into it, some people send us things they've already written, just newsletters or flyers that they are going to make anyways, and then they're not putting any extra effort into it. I would say if you're planning on creating a whole new thing, it is better to check with us first, because I wouldn't want someone to go through that effort and then have us say, oh, no, this isn't San Jose. It's kind of out of our range. Sorry, we can't use it.
So would people just email it to you directly?
Yeah, you can just email to me.
And say, hey, what do you think? Like, can we do a story? Can we write a story on this and give it to you?
Yeah.
Okay. Stephanie, I'm just going to share your email address, assignmenteditor@tricityvoice.com in the chat. So everyone has that. I have a couple questions. Sometimes I include a QR code. Oh, actually, let's go to Julie. Let's give her priority.
Oh.
Julie, do you want to? I'll come back to me later.
Yes, I can definitely weigh in on QR codes later. Yes,
Yeah.
and that's my email.
Julie, you're muted. Okay, hold on.
Okay, button and unbutton. How's that?
There we go.
You mentioned Word doc. Different generations are not using Word anymore or Microsoft products. They're using Google Docs. How is that going to affect how you are able to do your work?
The only thing that's really different is that I need permission to view a Google Doc. And I actually have a Gmail address that I use, or a Gmail account that I use for work, but it's not my work account because my work one has the Tri-City Voice email.
Right.
So the only thing that might be an issue is if it's shared with one, but I'm logging in with the other, and then it's like, you don't have permission to download this thing. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
Otherwise, usually if I can view it and I have permission to download, I just download it and it becomes a Word document. So it's very easy to work with.
Yeah, within my own organization, with our high school students, interns, they don't use Microsoft products. They're using all Google cloud-based stuff, and we're all going to have to adjust, I think. So, okay,
Interesting.
thank you.
Shouldn't be an issue.
Karen, you have a
Yeah,
question?
Stephanie, of course, what I would be wanting to pitch is an article about Friendship Force.
Mhm.
And so would that be appropriate? Is that something that you might be interested in? You know,
Well-
it'd be a matter of either kind of an overview of the kinds of experiences you have with Friendship Force, or maybe specifically about, like, for example, we have this group coming from Chile in July, and so we could kind of anticipate that with what we have, what we're going to do with them, you know, what we have in mind, the different roles that our members play in taking care of them. And, you know, that's kind of an outreach for membership, actually, you know, among other things. But
So this, I'm not familiar with the organization. I think maybe when you brought it up in the meeting was the first time I'd heard of it. So, oh, this is probably
sure, yeah, it's been around a long time, but it's not a household word. You know, we'd like to be known like Lions and Rotary and so on, and we do some of the same things, as a matter of fact. But
So local people are involved.
yes.
I'm
Yeah.
like, okay.
I would say not a majority. Actually, it was Fremont people, you know, the city fathers, the members of the council, way back when they first started here in the early 80s. They were all Friendship Force members. You know, kind of spread through different organizations, through churches and so on. But you know, as people are gone, then it, you know, kind of the profile kind of changes. We do have a lot of
Sounds
people
like there is
West Bay, too.
strong local connection. So that would make it relevant. I would think, like, for the people who are visiting, my question would be, is there anything associated with that where the public can attend? Or would it more be, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Then I
well,
think-
yeah, I don't think this time it is, you know, but the
Okay.
best attendance we ever had at a meeting, well, and it was in Fremont, was that we had a group coming from New Zealand. So we hired a group to come and do the Maori dance stuff. And we had 100 people in the audience that day.
Cool.
Standing room only. So
Yeah,
yeah,
so, like,
that was before
my
change.
way of thinking would be, if it's just something that you did that was kind of cool, but it's not necessarily where you're looking for more people to attend, then sometimes it's better to run an article after the event so
Mhm.
it can convey
Yeah.
what happened. But if there's an event happening where you want more people to come, then you want the article before the event.
Right, okay. So, but either one might pique your interest. Right?
Yeah, it would pique my
Okay.
interest. Shoot me an
Yeah.
email.
All right. Appreciate it. Yeah. I think you've probably written some articles with my friend Nithikas Sathya. Anyway, somebody on your paper hat. She's also with FCAC. So
Yep.
yeah, one of the interns. Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate all the information.
Okay, I think there was one more question about QR codes.
Yes.
So for us, the QR codes are more like photos than they are like text. So I need them to be separate from the article, and I put them in a folder with any photos or logos, and I give them to the layout team. And I say, please get in the QR code. People will need it to register. And then they decide, oh, okay, like I have a little space at the end or in the middle, and I can just shoot the QR code in there. So I don't know exactly where it will appear, but I can usually get it in, or they can usually get it in because they're awesome.
Okay. So I have a follow-up question to that. So I use the QR code generator, and there's the option, I can change the color, I can embed my logo, I can make it a little fancy with a frame that says register today, an action, prompt. Do you prefer to have, can we embellish the QR code in that way, or do you prefer just a plain one? Does it matter?
That might be a question I would have to ask the layout team, because I know that if it's something that's too small, then it might be hard for them to get in the paper without making it blurry. So there might be certain formats that work better for them. I do know that I can't always promise that it's going to be in color. So if there's an issue, like as far as functionality that might happen, if something color suddenly becomes black and white, it might be safer to go with black and white.
Okay. Okay. Good to know. And then another thing, I know my experience working with you and Sharon and Bill for so long is that Sharon's big on really crisp, thoughtfully photographed images. So, you know, she has shared with me in the past that's appreciated by your team, and it's much more likely that you'll have your images included if they're high res. Or, I mean, do you want to comment about images at all?
Yes, it's true. I don't work with the images, but if you have some good photos that show people's faces, photos that show a variety of people, young and old, different skin colors, different types of people, just anything that reflects people having fun and diversity, then it's good to have that option, and your chances of getting onto the front page will go up.
Right? That's what we all want, above the fold.
Yes.
Yeah, I've had my articles for, I think, Save and for Hers in the past, above the fold, and when, you know, when I see that, it's always such a thrill. And I'm just really grateful for the coverage. So Karen McCready had to get leave to go to an HOA meeting. Does anyone have any other questions?
I have one, because I do a lot of writing and I edit for other people, and it always drives me nuts, right? The commas are in the wrong place, whatever. When people send stuff to you, do you go in to edit obvious typos, grammar,
Oh, yeah.
right? So you go in and edit all that stuff.
Yes. And if I think that something is a little bit too wordy and it could be condensed a bit, I just go in and change it. Just assume that when you submit something to us, an editor is going to be going over it with a fine-tooth comb. And you might submit 600 words and only 450 will show up in the paper. We can show you our final draft, as it were, if you would like to see it. Usually that's something we will do if an interview source requested it, because we are using their words. Just assume that we are going to edit stuff, because sometimes we only have so much space, or sometimes there's a paragraph in there that isn't quite necessary from our perspective, or sometimes we kind of have to change things to fit our style guide. It's just kind of like part of how the paper functions.
That was actually another question I had, which is, if you interview somebody to write the article, do they get to see it before it's published?
Not everyone requests to see it, but if they request, we do try to get to them a few days early so that they can weigh in on the quotes that we used.
Okay. And do you like use AP or Chicago, or do you have a style guide that is your Bible?
No, we have guidelines for the stuff that we need to have in the paper. We have guidelines for like what font to use, what size, like what line spacing, how to format the summaries at the end of articles, especially because we want that to be as consistent as possible, how to format the community calendar, but we don't follow a specific one of those. So we're not so picky about using the percent sign versus spelling out percent as a word. And luckily, we don't have to worry about footnotes.
How do you feel about the Oxford comma? What's your stance on the Oxford comma?
I like it. Why does everyone hate the Oxford comma? I'm not going to make people use it, but I usually put it in.
I need a shirt that says Oxford comma fan or something. Fan club. It's like, it's so important. And there was a lawsuit actually where someone, did you see that? I think it was within the last year or so. Lisa, you're nodding. I think we're both kind of geeks that way. But yeah, someone won, it was a lawsuit because the Oxford comma was missing, and it was interpreted, you know, the terms of, I think, a contract or something. I don't know. But yeah, use the Oxford comma, please, folks.
You know, like if there's a list, then I just think every item deserves its own comma. I'm not stingy with my commas.
Yeah, good. Great to hear. I love it. I think I had one other question. Nope, it has escaped me. I do like the fact that there's the PDF version on the website. that's been in place for a while now, correct? Few
Yeah,
years.
as long as I've been with the paper, so since 2019.
Yeah, yeah, it's great. And then the drop-off point. So I work at the hospital, and your friendly delivery person, I see him on Thursdays, comes and drops off at the curb. So what are the drop-off points typically? Is it community libraries?
Yeah, libraries for sure, some coffee shops, some restaurants, some hospitals and businesses. We do have a map on the website as well, so you can go and sort of check where all the distribution points are as well.
Okay. And I'm just gonna make a point of saying it costs money. This is like, KQED is doing their spring pledge drive right now. And I mean, I feel like Tri-City Voice is another, like, it feels like it's a free community resource, but it really isn't. I mean, it costs money to keep the paper running and to pay the reporters and editors and do all that stuff. So,
Distribution people.
and the distribution
We
people, the
cannot survive without
printing.
them.
Right. So I'm just going to say, we don't advertise. We have advertised in the past, but I do subscribe just because I think it's really important to just, give back to this resource that gives so much to the community. And Stephanie, you and Bill and Sharon, I don't think I've ever submitted anything and it hasn't been published. So I'm very appreciative of that. Okay, does anyone have any other questions? We have about, time check, as Kathy would say, we have about 11 minutes. Did we want to touch a little bit? Oh, Julie, did you have a question?
Yeah, just more for the small group here. While the East Bay Times isn't really, I'd say, a competitor, but they are other print media that the Tri-Cities might subscribe to. And I don't know what people's experiences are of being published with an article or interview.
Ooh, it's so difficult.
And why do you think it's difficult? What is it? What's their response in terms of, or there's just not responsive at all?
I've done a lot of talking here. Does anyone else want to share an experience? Sherry, have you ever submitted anything? No. Yeah, I do blanket submissions, and I've even picked up the phone and I've done follow-up calls for our local editors who you would think, I've emailed, called, I've sent my press releases, and yeah, I think maybe in all the years I've been working in nonprofits, I've like twice, I think I've been able to get coverage. I don't know if they're understaffed. I don't know if they're just giving priority to, there's a lot that they're reporting. There's a lot of crime. There's a lot of, public housing debates. I mean, all those bigger picture,
Right.
not more important, but, they have a much bigger impact. And, of course, it's like, what is going to sell? I think that's what it comes down to too.
Sure.
What is going to increase their readership? Is it going to be, me publishing or me asking them to publish about our 25th anniversary, for serving breast cancer patients? Or are they going to jump on, the father from Antioch that was shot,
Sure. Yeah.
They
They consider themselves more of a news outlet, and I understand that, but I appreciate your sharing that.
Yeah, no, I think it's very common. But the larger papers, they also do some great work. Just so you're aware, San Jose Mercury Wish Book does their giving during the holidays, and they're probably going to open the process for that soon. So they do good work. I don't know. I know that Stephanie, Bill and Sharon have been, they're like, it's like what is it? The Goliath.
Oh, David and Goliath.
Goliath. Yeah. It's like, they're this, smaller paper, but I think it's such an important asset to our community.
Yeah, I feel like it's really unique. I think that it's not quite what anyone else is doing.
No, it isn't. And I have to tell a story is that I was with Bill and Sharon in their apartment in the first year doing some pro bono work for them. And, you know, my background is business. And I thought, this is never going to fly. And I am so glad I was so wrong. And their belief in how they could make it work was so unshakable. It's really inspirational and amazing, and that they're still at it and going strong. So
I'll let them know, but only the last part.
Yeah, they're quite a team. So just a little background information. I am curious, Stephanie, how large is your staff? I haven't looked at your masthead in a while.
Well, we have 4 full-time editors, or full-time, more like part-time to full-time editors in the office. We have Bill and Sharon. We have, in addition to Sharon, we have 2 people working on the layout. We've got a good handful of reporters as well, and a handful of interns, and then all our distribution people. I'm not sure how many we have on the distribution side because I don't really interact with them as much.
Okay.
And I have a question. So the reporters, these are people that they're on the staff and you give them assignments, or do they go out and find their own stories and just come back to you?
A combination of the two. Like some of them pitch to us more, some of them we assign to more. And those are freelancers.
Okay, good to know. I'm wondering if Sharon and Bill have ever thought of making Mocha there. Is Mocha still around? I think I saw them walking. Yeah, in case you guys don't know, Mocha is their adopted dog. And she's just this, like, she's built so solid. You know, if you were to see her, I think she's the type of bulldog, I think.
But she's definitely got a lot of pit bull in her.
Yeah, okay. She I don't know. It would be fun to see her made into the paper's mascot or something. I think that would be I think it would be a good marketing tool. Who doesn't love dogs, you know?
Well, I mean, a lot of people feel a certain way about pit bulls. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
I do have a picture of her. This is on our Instagram. I mean, she's
She's at the office.
not always a fan of other dogs when they're out walking her. Around the office, she's very chill though.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Well, I've got a rescue. She's right here at my feet. She's part pit bull too, but yeah, I think I've always been scared of them, but we're totally digressing off our topic here, but sorry. But
I will say that Mocha has always been very polite to me.
oh, that's good.
Yeah, luckily she seems to love women. So I don't set off like any of her triggers.
Good. That's good. Well, okay, a little bit of dog talk too. So this was a great evening. So let's see. We're going to touch on our 4th of July a little bit. Lisa, did you want to do that?
Sure. So, you know, at this point, for the 4th of July parade after party, I think we have 14 organizations who have put in applications to have their booth. And I've talked to one more today who they're debating if they're interested. So we're pretty much a full house. And our next meeting, which is, when is our next meeting? It's the second Wednesday. So that'll be June 14th,
I think.
June 14th. Does that sound right?
Hold on, June 14th.
14th. And so that meeting, we will discuss, you know, more details about the event, what things still need to happen, any information for the booth members, and hopefully we'll get everybody who's representing all the groups to be there.
Lisa, what is the booth rental fee this year?
It is, what do we say, $50.
Okay.
So we have to pay to rent the event center, which is a fee, and then we pay to rent the tents, the tables, the chairs, and you know, we're not having the booths cover the entire cost of the event. We're subsidizing all that stuff. So it's for sharing and making sure we have the buy-in. But last year, what did we have? Like 500 people. It was a pretty big event, and
It was tremendous.
And
really was.
it was good, you know, the feedback from the nonprofits that were there was it was good exposure for them.
Did you have to get a,
I just will be in
get-
touch, Stephanie, with coverage ideas.
did you have to get a bigger permit this year? Based on last year, or they look the other way?
That's a good question. Kathy's in charge of that, so I
Yeah.
don't know the answer, and I hope you're right. I hope they look.
Yeah.
the-
Yeah,
So
anyway,
we still have some time here. It's still
Yeah.
it's 8
well,
weeks.
that's great to hear.
So
Well, I'm gonna sign off, but I wanted to say thank you so much, Stephanie, for all you do. Not just Bill and Sharon, but you, because you've helped us, every one of us on this call, I think, many times
Absolutely.
over, and your patience and your flexibility in helping us get the word out about our events and organizations. is-
also, you're a pretty good writer.
Oh, thank you.
That's right. That's
good,
right.
yes.
Thank you. I forgot.
Of course,
Considering
you're an
I'm
excellent
in this
writer.
field.
Yeah.
And we will, you know, I'll edit the video portion of this and we'll post it on our website and send it to our mailing list and all of our usual places, because we do have people that watch these after, because just too many meetings in the evenings and not enough time for everybody to get here.
Mhm.
Things are
Thank you
busy.
so much for your time, Stephanie. It was great I learned a lot.
Oh, I know, me too.
Great to hear from you tonight. Enjoyed your presentation.